On Story is brought to you in part by the Alice Clayburgh Reynolds Foundation, a Texas family providing innovative funding since 1979. On Story, presented by Austin Film Festival, a look inside the creative process from today's leading writers and directors. In this week's On Story, the Academy Award-winning director of Silence of the Lambs and Philadelphia, Jonathan Demme, and There Will Be Blood and the master director, Paul Thomas Anderson, explore Robert Downey Sr.'s classic 1972 Western cult film, Greaser's Palace.
It won't be hard if you're on guard and always salt your pork. Save your flour for tomorrow. You never know what's apt to go through a tender maiden's head, so save your
Siga la música.
I was given the wonderful invitation to screen some movies that mean a lot to me. And I thought of Greaser's Palace. I really thought of Austin in a way. And I just feel like Greaser's Palace, you know, is a very kind of Austin kind of film, and it's rarely seen. It's pretty obscure. Most people don't even know about it. And I love this film, and I was actually hoping, while we're up here having this dialogue, that Paul might be able to help me seriously understand why I love this film so much. But I just really thought it was a great opportunity to share it.
Bob doesn't seem to be that worried about what, you know, confusing the audience. But that's okay, and that's why it's great, you know. Not that he's not delivering, you know, he just has his own rhythm. And part of, I think, what excites other filmmakers the most about him is just this incredible confidence and this sort of that it takes to just commit to what his rhythm is. And his rhythm of telling a story is not what you're used to. It's not going to be anything like, you know, and he's intractable about that. He's not aggressive about it, and he just has instinctual feelings that he follows, and he sticks to them, and they make him laugh, they engage him, you know, and that's kind of it. And so as another filmmaker, seeing that is like, it's invigorating, and it reminds you, like, to have that confidence, to have that trust in yourself. And yes, you should give over to, you're making something for an audience, but that enjoyment that I see, I see him enjoying himself in the work that he puts out there so much, and that's really intoxicating and thrilling. And you know, that's what you should be doing. You should really, whatever your voice, you know, whatever you feel about things, do it, because that is Bob. I mean, if you hang around with Bob to get to know Bob, you can understand. Okay, that's the films he makes. He makes these films. He's got the most fantastic perverted sense of humor, and he's got a lot on his mind. You know, from politics to baseball to sex to everything. He made a film called Moment to Moment, which is even really abstract, and it's kind of like the most beautiful home movie, and everybody's seen it. You know, there's a Criterion, an Eclipse edition DVD box set out now of all of his early work, so go find that. It's got Chafed Elbows and Moment to Moment and No More Excuses, so all this kind of stuff. Pound is on there. Babu 73, right? So all this kind of stuff that's leading up to this. So if this is the first movie of his that you've seen, you know, you can go look at this other stuff and see that there is a kind of pattern to the way that he does things, and that you either get with or you don't. But man, I'm like, you know, smitten with it. So
I think it's like this, you know, kind of like this extraordinary, original American vision of something or other done on film, and you know, with no eye on the marketplace whatsoever. I'm confident that with all those ingredients in there, I just can't imagine Bob thought this'll pull him in. I just can't imagine that. There's so many exploitation movie ingredients just all over this film, the violence and the sex and humor, all those things we associated. So this was a moment when he made this where you could do anything. You know, El Topo pushed the envelope on violence and bloody violence, you know, all the way. And this was a moment in time when you could do anything. You could, you know, there was no limitations on he certainly every word in the sexual vocabulary appears in this film. So I think that Bob was capitalizing on that openness. We all understand that something that can really be great when you're presenting your film is that you're really proud of. If you have these sort of like extended takes, you know, we love it when we can make an extended take work. And because there's great power in extended takes. It's, you know, I think part of the bottom line on that is that, you know, every time you cut, you know, you create, you know, you suspend the reality that you've just been building up with the shot you were in, so now you're going to cut. So isn't it great when we can kind of stay in the same shot? And of course, in Grease's Palace, Downey takes, you know, the sustained take to extraordinary extremes, capitalizing on both the power of it and finding the humor in it. You know, we've all seen that shot when all the badasses come out and go into the street and to confront whoever that's out there. But we're used to it cutting to whoever they're going to see, and Downey just holds and holds and holds and holds and holds and holds, and you start worrying about the cameraman. You know, he's got this ferocious handheld frame. He's going backwards and on and on and on. And then it cuts like briefly. You see Lemmy Homa briefly way in the background, and now it cuts to the long lens, and here they come again. And it's both great cinema to me, I can't explain exactly why, and it's hilarious.
I was just thinking about some of the filmmaking stuff that Jonathan was talking about, which he's right. You know, sometimes just seeing the guys trying to get on the horse, and that's just like classic Bob Downey too, because well, it really looks like they're falling off. It doesn't really look like they're trying to push it too much. And there's a real gracefulness about it, because there's the closer shot where it is one shot, and then they cut to the wider one, or the long lens one. And it doesn't, that's actually one that goes on a little bit long, but there's no extra crazy Foley or bumps or anything else. It's all very kind of silent and little shush shush and things, little sounds like this that make it even funnier. That's what makes them unique. That's what makes them these beautiful movies, or these kind of combinations of things that Jonathan's reminding. You know, these, like, he'll go from using like a fisheye lens, or practically a fisheye lens, probably like a 10mm lens, like a really wide thing, to something really long lens compressed thing, and those combinations of things, which I just sort of take for granted now, because I remember when I saw them the first time, I just spent so long trying to get those combination of things to work, or when I'm like, God, how he puts those two things together and he gets this great result. That, you know, when you reappreciate them, you start talking about them, you remember, like, he's doing things that were like nuts to do, that you'd never seen before, and that make it feel unique, completely unique.
We can see that it is this kind of Jesus allegory and what have you, but I've seen the film a number of times over the years, and it's impossible to trace it. I mean, what's he doing out at Hervé Villechaise's place with Petunia, for example? Where does this fit into the Jesus narrative? But there's that theme, and in a sort of essentially narrativeless film, a storyless film, really, kind of. It's a flow of moments and images and stuff. There's this theme, and that's what I guess what we latch onto. Trying to figure it out. By the way, a couple of things I want to say before is that was, for those of you who don't know, that was Bob Downey dressed in a spectacular cowboy suit. That was Bob's wife playing the beleaguered woman, and I guess that, I think we have a feeling what that's all about, that her storyline. And there's lots of other people. A great, brilliant title designer, Pablo Ferro, who's done titles for so many great films. I was lucky enough to work with Pablo on a lot of things, and he did Dr. Strangelove. Every filmmaker wants an audience, but Bob certainly has never kind of decided to take his genius and say, this time, maybe just for once, I'm going to make a very straightforward picture and harness all my gifts on something in pursuit of a big audience. We got, the most original filmmaker in the country sitting here, but he wants an audience. Paul really wants his pictures to be seen. Bob's kind of a little bit different in that regard. He's like making it to make it, kind of. He's like a poet, and I like that jazz thing a lot. But he doesn't have that. He'd love to have an audience, but he's not going to work to get it, and therefore he's a little marginal. But I wanted to ask you, because you've seen, I think, the earlier pictures much more recently than I have. I saw them as they came out 1,000,000 years ago, his early pictures. And isn't Greasers like a lot more cinematic than any of the early ones?
But probably more cinematic, just because it looks like they're outside of like New York City, where all of his stuff before was, and you felt like you were in apartments and streets and found locations. But it's not as if suddenly he got a budget and went out to the desert and wildly changed his filmmaking style. It was like he just transplanted his style from his friends' bedrooms in the streets of New York to the middle of New Mexico and had a set built and things like that. And that's what's so cool, is that it wasn't like suddenly here's this cash and I'm completely changing my style or venue. It's sort of like, no, you can just see Bob with his New York accent in the middle of New Mexico with these cowboys like, I can put the camera over here. The way he talks, is very New York. But so, is it more cinematic? Maybe a bit more, because it's open spaces and things like that. But it's still the same ridiculousness and insanity, which is so, the content-wise, it's so him that it's funny. That's what makes this pretty neat.
You've been watching Greaser's Palace with Jonathan Demme and Paul Thomas Anderson on Story. Next up, director Andrew Napier and his short film, Grandma's Not a Toaster.
Hi, my name is Andrew Napier. I'm here today because I directed a short film called Grandma's Not a Toaster. So I was really lucky to have worked on another short film before this. And so we brought the entire team, the same team, all back together to do another film, but we wanted to do something a little different. So the idea came for Grandma's Not a Toaster specifically, came out that Sean had a couple of friends in an acting class that wanted to be in a film, and so we tried to come up with something where we could write roles specifically for these actors, such as the really hilarious Michael Dreyer, who's in Grandma, and Merritt Casson, who's a producer of Curfew, and Sean himself. And then I, as a director, I wanted to do something a little challenging, technical. I wanted to do something with long takes. I wanted to do something a little different that I hadn't really seen at festivals before, and sort of try to challenge myself technically. So with all that stuff in mind, we came up with the idea to sort of satisfy all those different things, to put these actors in the film and to give me something that would be a little a little unique and a little challenging to try to direct. It really kind of came together in the editing room, and we didn't know if it was going to work or not until we premiered. So up next is my short film, Grandma's Not a Toaster. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I hope you enjoy.
Grandma's worth $78,000.
I don't like the implications of that statement.
$78,000, Arnie. Do you know what I could do with $78,000?
Probably not good things.
A hell of a lot, Arnie. A hell of a lot. And here's the kicker. We're not in the will. None of us. It all goes to Aunt Gilda.
Okay, but aren't you pregnant?
Pay attention, Arnie. I read the damn thing head to toe 3 times over, and we ain't in there.
Really? Not even me? I'm not even in there? Are you sure I'm not in there?
Forget the details, Arnie. Pay attention. Grandma's about to croak, you understand? I mean, just look at her. She could be dead for all we know, and then everything in that will goes to Aunt Gilda, that whorish slut.
Aunt Gilda is a nun.
So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna sneak past Grandma, go to the top drawer, and switch out the will with this.
What is this?
It's the will Grandma would have written had she been in the right mind, poor woman.
This is a forgery.
Forgery. Genius, Arnie. Now climb over Grandma and switch that out.
Everything you're saying makes me feel uncomfortable. Did Grandma's hand
You
just
just
move?
switch out the will. Everything she's worth goes to the both of us. Split down the middle. 70-30.
70 what?
What the hell are you doing here?
What is this?
It's the will Grandma would have written had she been in the right mind, poor woman.
This is a forgery.
Forgery. Genius, Arnie. Now climb over Grandma and switch that out.
Everything you're saying makes me feel uncomfortable. Did Grandma's hand just move?
If you just switch out the will, everything she's worth goes to the both of us. Split down the middle. 70-30.
70 what?
What the hell are you doing here? Woo!
Eddie?
Hey guys. Just dropping by to see what the status is on Grandma. God, I love that woman. Hey, anyone read the will yet? Ow!
Grandma has a restraining order against you.
That's just a piece of paper, Arnie. Okay? Come on. At a time like this, with Grandma on the fritz, how can you think about a measly piece of paper?
On the fritz? What was she? A toaster? She's a human being, Eddie, okay? A human being whose cat you tried to light on fire.
I was experimenting, okay? I was a kid. There were different times.
It was 2 weeks ago.
You pregnant? Listen, guys, I met a girl at a strip club. I'm gonna marry her. I even love her sometimes.
Getting married?
Before me?
Gorgeous. Doesn't know anything about my past. Dad's rich.
Oh, I'm so proud of you, little brother.
You. Hey, I'm a changed man. I really want to impress this girl, you know? Particularly her father. So I'm just gonna grab Grandma's engagement ring and be right out of your hair.
Grandma's engagement ring? Whoa.
That ring is worth $17,458.
That was a pretty weird exact guess.
Also, it's been on her finger for over 4,000 years. You're not just gonna waltz in here and take it. No way.
I'm gonna have to veto that as well.
Me too as well. Too.
Okay. All right, you know what? I thought maybe you guys could forgive me for all those things I can't really list right now. I thought maybe this is the part of the movie where the lead characters give the younger brother a little slice of redemption. But no, it's the part of the movie where Michael sends Frito out onto that boat and makes him think he's going fishing when really he's gonna get shot in the face. So thank you for shooting me in the face.
Now I feel bad. I don't want him to think he looks like Fredo.
Well, if you feel so bad, why don't you write them into this fake will that you got here?
I don't feel that bad.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm related to you people, you know? I remember Dad used to joke around that he found you guys in the abandoned section of a Walmart parking lot. And now I'm starting to wonder if it's true. What are these?
They're plastic gloves.
Plastic gloves? Really? For what possible purpose? What the hell is going on here?
But no, it's the part of the movie where Michael sends Frito out onto that boat and makes him think he's going fishing when really he's gonna get shot in the face. So thank you for shooting me in the face. Oh, bingo. Hey, Grandma.
Everything is escalating very quickly here.
Eddie, that ring is worth a lot of coin. Hacksaw or no hacksaw, I want a piece of the action.
Deal. We're not talking about hacksaws. Is that a possibility? Did Grandma's hand just move?
If you just switch out the wheel, everything she's worth goes to the boat and I'll split down the middle. 70-30. What the hell are you doing here? Woo!
Hey?
Hey, guys. Just dropping by to see what the status is on Grandma. Hey, you haven't read the will yet? Ow! Grandma has been strong. It's just a piece of paper. Okay? Come on. I found like this. Throw it on the face. I really want to impress this girl, particularly her father. I'm just gonna grab Grandma's engagement ring and right out of here.
Grandma's engagement ring? Whoa!
Pretty exact guess.
Also, it's been on her finger for over 4,000 years. Now she's waltzing here.
For all those things, I can't really listen right now. I thought maybe this is the part of the movie where the lead characters give the young brother a little slice of redemption. But no, it's the part of the movie where Michael sends Frito out onto that boat and makes him think he's going fishing when really he's going to get shot in the face. So thank you for shooting me in the face.
Bad. I don't want him to think he looks like Frito.
Why don't you let him in this? What the hell is going on?
He's trying to get Grandma's ring!
Give me the ring!
It's so strong! I'm getting a hacksaw! Where's the toolbox?
Everything is escalating very quickly.
That ring is worth a lot of coin. Hacksaw or no hacksaw, I want a piece of the action.
Deal. We're not talking about hacksaws. Is that a possibility?
Grandma, no!
Stop her! She's swallowing the ring!
Don't save her. It's better this way.
Grandma, stay away from the light.
I'm going in!
On Story, check out our free podcast at onstory.tv or search the iTunes Store and get the book today, On Story, Screenwriters and Their Craft, on Amazon.